Well, hello scrappers, welcome back to my channel. Mike here, and today we are going to try something I haven't tried before, and we'll see how it works. It's an experiment. It might be a failure, it might be fantastic. So what we've got here is the remains from when I processed all my filters a while back and got almost 4 grams of gold out of 3 years accumulation of filters. I'll put a link to the video in the upper right where I processed those filters if you haven't seen it. And then when that video came out, in the comments, a lot of people were like, what about the silver? Are you going to try and get the silver out? When are you going to do the silver? Don't throw the silver away. So yeah, I actually kept all the remains. This is full of the ashes that I extracted the gold from, plus the filter I used to filter the gold-bearing liquid out of them. So I saved that expressly so I could try to get silver out of them, because I know those filters must have had a lot of silver chloride in them. So I'm thinking that silver chloride is still going to be bound up in these ashes. You know, incineration isn't going to really affect it. The nitric acid Nakareja treatments weren't going to affect it. It's still in there somewhere. So we're going to try and extract the silver chloride from this using ammonia. Got some ACE ammonia here. Not sure the strength of this. It doesn't say. I mean, they call it extra strength for tough jobs, but nowhere on the label does it say what the actual percentage of ammonium hydroxide in here is. I'm sure it's at least 5%. I'm hoping it's closer to 10 or 15, but I don't know for sure. The higher the percentage of ammonia, the more soluble silver chloride is in it, up to a point. Now this is early in the morning, and everything's nice and cool. It was a chilly night last night. The ammonia is nice and cool. This is nice and cool. So all of the tables I've seen on silver chloride solubility in ammonia solution are done at around 15°C at the most, if not colder. So this is a good time to try this experiment. So let me get this in the fume hood. We'll get some ammonia on it and see if we can dissolve out some silver chloride. Okay? Okay, got my ashed material in the fume hood. We're sharing the fume hood with a couple of other projects. I'm redoing my wet ashing of Gold Corner BGA chip tops. This video might come out before this one. If so, I'll put a link in the upper right. You can check it out. But we're just going to try and extract some silver chloride from this with ammonia. I've done some small-scale tests, and, you know, dissolving silver chloride in ammonia and then getting it back, and it's worked surprisingly well. So I'm just going to put a generous amount of ammonia in here on these ashes. Get a stir rod. And stir it up really well. Let this sit for a couple of minutes and give it another stir or two, just to make sure that the silver chloride in there gets a chance to contact the ammonia. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to set up my filtration apparatus so we can filter this stuff and hopefully get a nice clean filtrate and then drop some silver chloride out of it. We'll see. I'm going to give this another stir. It's been a few minutes, just long enough for me to set up my filter apparatus. We might give this material a couple of ammonia treatments. In fact, I think I'm going to add a little bit more ammonia to it, because it takes a fair amount of ammonia to dissolve a little bit of silver chloride. So make sure I give that stuff a chance to get into solution. I suppose I can always give this stuff multiple treatments if it looks like I'm getting a decent amount of silver chloride out of it. And if I'm getting squat out of it, I guess it can just go into the garbage. We'll see. So I'm going to let that sit a little while, then we'll start filtering. Now, in the small-scale experiments I did, the ammonia dissolved silver chloride fairly quickly. And so even though it's only been a few minutes and I've only stirred this up a couple of times, I'm hoping that a lot of the silver chloride in here is in solution. So I'm going to filter it, and hopefully we'll get a nice clean filtrate out of this. We don't have to filter it 2 or 3 times. We'll see, because there's a lot of black goo in here. And I have to set up my filtration setup outside the fume hood, because there's not enough room to set it up in there, especially not when I've got another project going on. So I just have to stand upwind so I don't get a good whiff of ammonia here. Well, the filtrate's coming through nice and clean. That's good. That's excellent. Nice and clean. We're not getting any particulates. I imagine this is going to take a while to filter though, because there are a lot of particulates in this stuff and they're going to clog up the filter. So this filtration may take a while. So I'll be back once I got all this stuff in here and through the filter. Alright? Well, that filtration went pretty well. It didn't take that long, and I got a nice clean filtrate here. The last few drops are being pulled through by the vacuum. Normally what I would do is I would dump the solids in here into my Buchner funnel and wash them with copious amounts of water to get all the pregnant solution out of them and into the receiving flask here. I'm not going to do that this time because I would have to wash this with ammonia solution, and I don't want to have too much ammonia solution to deal with here at once. So I'll show you why in the next segment. But this is more of an experiment, R&D, just to see if we've extracted any significant amount of silver chloride out of this stuff. This is not a serious recovery operation. This is an experiment. If this works, I can always give this further treatments down the road to see if I can extract any more, or if I got it all the first time. We'll see. But what I'm going to do is, now that this looks like it's done, is I'm going to dump this stuff into a big 3-liter beaker here, and we're going to go back into the fume hood and see if we can precipitate out any silver chloride out of this stuff, or whether I've just been wasting my time in ammonia. We'll see. So let me get this transferred over and I'll meet you back in the fume hood. Okay, so here's our ammonia solution back in the fume hood. Get the lid off. Now the way you get your silver chloride back out is by acidifying this. And the easiest way to do that is with some muriatic acid. And I think you're going to see something interesting when I pour this muriatic acid in, because when hydrogen chloride fumes meet ammonia fumes, you get an interesting reaction. I don't know if all that smoke's showing up. Oh, look at that. Look at that white cloud. Yes, we got some silver chloride. We got some silver chloride out of that stuff. And look at all the smoke. Look at all the smoke. That's what happens when ammonia fumes and hydrogen chloride fumes combine. You get a solid ammonium chloride cloud. So wow, but look at that. That's silver chloride in there. Let's see if I got enough acid in there. Ah, see, it takes a lot of... This is why I didn't want to use too much ammonia solution at once, because it takes a lot of muriatic acid to neutralize the ammonia and acidify this, and it gets hot in the process. So I didn't want to use too much at once. And until I get all that ammonia neutralized, all that cottage cheesy stuff I had at the bottom was just going right back into solution. Now I think it's going to stay. I hope. Yeah. See, that's got quite warm. Everything was stone cold this morning, but now it's quite warm. Can you see the silver chloride down in there swirling around? I'm going to put a little more acid in because it looks like it's dissolving again. Alright, look at that. So we got some silver chloride out of my ashes. That might almost be worth treating it a second or third time. We'll see. Unless I got it all the first time. But I did get some silver. So I'm just going to let this settle and see. Is it going into solution again? It's still there. Okay. It's piled up in the center, I guess. So I'm going to let this settle, decant off the liquid and give it a few washes, and we'll see how much silver chloride I got. Okay, this has had a couple minutes to settle, and I can see now that there really isn't that much silver chloride in there. There's a little bit, and I'm sure it would look more impressive in the bottom of a smaller beaker than in the bottom of my big 3-liter beaker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decant off this liquid, transfer it to a smaller beaker, and give it some washes to get the chemicals out of it, and we'll see what we got. See whether it's worth trying to convert into silver metal. Okay, so here's our silver chloride after a few rinses. Yeah, there's not a lot here, but there may be just enough to do a lye and sugar conversion on it. I mean, it's already going gray from exposure to light out here, so I might as well just go ahead and convert it and see if we can get a weight on this stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Let me get set up for the conversion. Okay, let's do this conversion. Got my lye, and instead of granulated sugar this time, I'm going to use Karo syrup. It's a monosaccharide, and it's much more reactive, and you have to actually be a little more careful with it because the reaction can be so exothermic with this stuff you'll get a volcanic eruption. I mean, you can get a volcanic eruption if you put sugar in too quick too, but this stuff is touchy. Alright, so in goes the lye. Oh yeah, the stuff's starting to turn black. The lye converts the silver chloride into silver oxide. This is an exothermic reaction too, so both these reactions are exothermic, which results in this mixture getting quite hot, which can result in serious boilovers or spattering. Wear your PPE. Do this somewhere where it's not a big deal if you have a boilover, okay? I'm going to put in enough lye to get rid of all the white silver chloride in there. You don't want to see any white specks left. You look at the bottom of the beaker. Looks pretty good. I think we got it all. I'm going to put a little bit more in just to be safe, because there are a few clumps in there. I need to bust the clumps up, and there might be some white silver chloride hiding inside those clumps. Let me wash down the sides of the beaker with a little distilled water too, not too much. I don't want to dilute this too much. Okay, get the stuff off the sides of the beaker. Put the lid on my lye. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can see the steam coming off. This is already hot. So this next step of adding the syrup, this is where things get dicey. I put it in too fast and had a major eruption, so I'm going to try and put it in a little slower. Of course, it's already a liquid, and it's a monosaccharide, so the reaction's pretty much instantaneous when it goes in. It doesn't have to dissolve, and it's much more reactive. So, oh yeah, we got some bubbling going on in there. Sort of tickling the dragon's tail here by putting this stuff in. Oh, this is quite... Oh yeah, this is like boiling hot now. I see bubbling. There's boiling going on in there. On the other hand, we are getting the silver chloride converted into silver metal. So keep putting this stuff in until you don't see a reaction after you put some in. I didn't see much of a reaction that time, but there was a bit of one. Stir it around good. Oh wow. Yeah, I almost put more in and it's starting to look like it's boiling even without putting any more in, so I got to be careful here. We are close to the threshold of volcanism. Even with such a small amount of silver chloride, it can take off on you. Okay, I didn't really see any kind of additional reaction when I put that last dose in. Well, I take it back. It's boiling. So there was some additional reaction there. Oh, it's starting to smell like caramel. It's my least favorite part of this process, washing the caramel off of the silver you're creating, because it takes a lot of washing. Uh-oh. Now we've got serious boiling going on. You see that? I hope that's showing up on the video. We are boiling. It's dying down. Every time I think it's had enough syrup in it, it boils some more. Put a little bit more in, just a little bit. Oh, not much boiling that time. I think we're close to the end. Well, I'm close to the end of my syrup too, so put a little bit more in. Of course, I have another bottle of syrup, but well, look at that. Wow. It's just going to keep reacting. It's possible I put too much lye in. Normally, I don't have to put this much syrup in. Oh yeah, there's a reaction. Let me get my other bottle of syrup, because apparently this is going to take more than what was in that bottle. One problem with working with the syrup, I mean the reaction's fast, but one problem with working with the syrup is now everything is sticky, including my gloves. My stir rod, everything. Okay. That produced almost no reaction. I'm going to put a little bit more in just to be on the safe side. Make sure we've neutralized everything in there. But really, I think we're there. Hard to see, but I can see silver on the bottom of the beaker. Yeah, we're there. We're done. Sorry, I keep banging the tripod. No, we're not. Look at that. Oh, crap. Just when I think it's done, it fools me. Get a pretty vigorous reaction going. I think I'm combining too many experiments in this video. Experimenting with recovering the silver chloride with ammonia and experimenting with reducing the silver chloride to metal with syrup instead of sugar. I should probably only change one variable at a time. But you're seeing some interesting stuff here anyway. No extra charge. Yeah, my fingers are all sticky. Can't let go of the stir bar, can't let go of the bottle of syrup. There's definitely silver in there. I just want to make sure I get it all reduced to metal. Well, delayed reaction or what? I'm not seeing anything after that addition. It's going to fool me into putting more in and having a boil over. Just a little bit more. I'm going crazy. See, you can't let go of the stir bar. Okay, maybe that was the last hurrah, because I'm not really seeing anything after those last two additions of syrup. I think we're there. And I do see silver on the bottom of the beaker, although it's hard to see through this opaque caramel stuff. It's there. I can't let go of anything. Alright, so I need to get some rinsing done on this. Let me get set up to rinse the caramel out of here, and we'll see how much silver we got. Alright, time for my least favorite part of this process. Washing all this black caramelly stuff out of here. Out of the silver. Now, hot water would work much better for this. I have some water heating up in the fume hood. I should have started that earlier, but I didn't. So the first few rinses here, well, this is still quite hot. So the first few rinses here are just going to be with cold water. In fact, this is hard to hold on to. It's so hot. The silver's starting to show up. Take a lot of rinses to get all this caramel stuff out of it. Look at that. There's our silver metal in there. Cool. Alright. Let me give it another cold water rinse. And then once the water's hot in the fume hood, I'll start with the hot water rinses. And I cleverly blew it up all up the side of the beaker here. So this is just a process of rinsing and rinsing and rinsing some more. And what you do is you keep rinsing this. It's a horrible waste of water, I have to say. But you keep rinsing this until you don't see any more of this brown color coming off. And then you rinse it 4 or 5 more times after that. Otherwise, you'll never get rid of all of it. And your silver will be sticky. It'll be nasty when you try to melt it. So I'm going to wait till the water in the fume hood gets hot and then continue with the rinsing. And we'll be back after the rinsing is done. Oh yes, hot water wash is much more effective than cold water washes at getting this caramel stuff out of here. I got the last of the color out a rinse or two ago. And now it's just a matter of making sure it's good and clean. So I'm going to work my way through the rest of the hot water I've got here, just to make sure I've got this stuff good and clean. Got all the sugar out of it, all the lye out of it, and then we'll dry it out and weigh it up. So you don't have to watch all these interminable rinses. They go on forever. We'll be back when we're ready to dry it out. Okay, so here's our nice clean silver. Been rinsed 7 ways to Sunday. It looks pretty darn good. Let me put it on a hot plate in the fume hood and dry it out so we can get a weight on it. Okay, this hot plate's still hot from heating up the water I used for rinsing, but I'll turn the heat back on to low, and we'll just let this stuff sit in there and dry out, and then I'll be able to get a good weight on it. Looks like a fair amount of silver, but It always looks like a lot when it's wet. Okay, our silver's all dried up. Looks like a fair amount in here. Let's weigh it and see how much we recovered. Well, looks can be deceiving. Not even 2.5 grams. And being as silver is not very expensive by the gram or even by the ounce, I don't think we even recovered the cost of the chemicals we used to get it. But it is a good learning experience. I know now that I can use ammonia to dissolve silver chloride out of, you know, goop that contains it, along with a lot of other solids. So, yeah, and I could probably do another extraction or two on this and maybe get a little more silver out, but clearly I'm not going to even recoup my costs in chemicals, let alone time, so I'm not going to bother. But we did get some nice silver out of it. I mean, this looks like nice clean silver. I'm going to add it to my silver powder repository here. Every little bit helps. And like I said, it was a good learning experience. In the past, there have been times when I've done stuff that's produced a lot of silver chloride and it's got mixed in with other kinds of goop, and I knew it was there, but I didn't know how to get it out. Now I do know how to get it out. So if I think there's plenty of it there and it's worth getting out, this is a method I'll use. And now we know how much silver was in my filters too. Not a whole heck of a lot, you know, so I think I'm just gonna discard this stuff and not bother with trying to recover any more from it. But in the future, definitely we'll look at the possibility of recovering silver chloride from my solid waste. Okay, well, I hope you found this video at least a little bit interesting, educational, informative, killed some time, whatever. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future gold and silver recovery videos. Check out my second channel, Electric Geek 64. There's interesting stuff going on there too. If you're all interested in retro computers or electronics, check that out. I think you'll find it interesting. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.